let's talk about debt and how to get out of it and how I did it so you can too. No, but seriously, debt can hold a lot of people back from doing exactly what they want to do in their lives. And the reason being is that no one's really educated about what it is and how we can use it to our advantage rather than our disadvantage. So in this video today, I wanted to, first of all, let you guys know what debt is, and if you have been a victim to predatory lending or anything like that, how you can plan to get out of it, just based on what I've done and what's worked for me. There's a million and one ways to reverse out of debt. I just want to share what worked for me. And then you guys can kind of start a conversation about what's worked for you or what you think might work for you, and then we can talk about it. So basically, starting off with, what is debt? So debt is essentially made up money to either keep you poor or make you rich. That basically means like you got to be smart with the way that you use it. My first encounter with debt was as a freshman in college. I kind of walked into a bank and I was like, oh, I'm starting college, I want to open a bank account. And they were like, oh, do you want a credit card? It's like $500, and didn't really explain to me what those $500 was. And I was like, hell yeah, I'll take some, free money, whatever. And, they always say use it for groceries, use it for necessities and things like that. And then when you're done at the end of the month, pay it back. And I was like, I don't have a job. That shouldn't be too hard. Anyway, so, they gave me, as a 17-year-old without a job at the time, I might have had a job, a $500 credit card, and I thought it was free money. So that was my first encounter with debt. And so no one explained to me what an APR was. I think my APR on that credit card was about 24.99%, which now I'm finding out is like pretty much illegal. And of course I spent it all on dorm stuff. And then several months later, I started receiving bills in the mail, and I was like, wait, did they mean like this month I had to pay it off? Because I don't have, I didn't have $500 to spend on something that I thought was free. So I kind of kept pushing it off till I started getting some scary notices. Anyway, long story short, ended up paying it off. Still didn't know what debt was. So another encounter that I had was when I applied for a student loan to continue going to college. Well, I hadn't even started yet, but still, they don't explain these things to you when you're in high school and you're applying for colleges that you really want to go to because you saw it on YouTube and it looked really cool. And so that was another encounter I had with debt. I ended up getting like a $10,000 student loan. Still don't know where it is to this day. Fun fact, I still haven't even graduated. Probably won't, but whatever. So another time that I had another encounter that I've had with debt was I walked into a major banking institution after starting college. And again, they signed me up for a credit card, still not knowing what it meant. And they were able to give me a $1,000 limit. So as a freshman in college, I had a $1,500 credit limit, and I thought I was the richest person on the planet. But let's get into different ways that people use debt and kind of how you start racking up debt, pretty much. So there is consumer debt. Consumer debt is when you get these credit cards and you go to Neiman Marcus and you buy like 10 pairs of shoes, and then you go out and then you're like, what did I spend $3,000 on? That is consumer debt. When you purchase a car, that's consumer debt. When you go to the grocery store and you put groceries on your card and you don't pay it back, or whatever the case is, that's consumer debt. You have investments, so you can get debt for investments pretty much. And I think this, I'm not really too familiar with that part of the debt cycle. Purchasing a home is considered debt. So you get a mortgage from the bank. Technically, you don't own your home, the bank does. So until you pay off that mortgage, the bank owns your home. Even after you pay off your mortgage, sometimes the bank can still take your home if you don't pay your taxes. So keep that in mind, pay your taxes. Purchasing a car is debt as well. So you, again, get a loan from the bank, and the bank owns your car until you pay it off. And I believe their taxes aren't really an issue. So like just make sure you update your title every year or so, whatever the case is. And then going to college is debt. And hopefully in a later video, I will explain to you why I think college is a scam. But anyway, so those are all the forms of all the forms of debt that there is. I shouldn't say all of them, but that's the most common that we see in the United States. And then so I want to get into common mistakes that people make with these types of debt. A lot of those things stem from buying things that you don't need. So for example, you may not have needed that brand new car, but you got it anyway, and now you have more debt than your income essentially. So that's your DTI ratio, and that's what a lot of lenders look at when giving you a loan. So maybe when you walk into the bank, your DTI is low, but then when you left with that car loan or with that mortgage, now it's like skyrocketed. So that's the first mistake that a lot of people make, is buying things they don't need. And again, going back to that consumer debt, that's where a lot of those things you don't need come from. Spending more than you have. So that's another thing, and that I think was my mistake as a freshman in college, was spending more money than I actually had. So yeah, I had a $1,500 credit, but my checking account maybe had like $500. So I was spending $1,500 in the span of 4 or 5 months, whatever, which in reality isn't a lot, but when you're on a college campus and you're not working, and yeah, it adds up. So that's what I mean by people spending more than what they have. You get this increase in credit and then you spend it, and now you have to go to pay it back, but you don't have the money. Spending more than you have. Going into college, again, I hate to keep bringing this up, but that's a huge mistake that a lot of people make. They take out these student loans using either their names or their parents' name, and it's not necessarily their fault because we're not educated on how to properly do college and go. So again, I really am gonna probably put together a video on why that's a scam. Living beyond your means. So this is, buying the Benz when maybe you could have just settled for a Toyota Camry. I don't know. Definitely something I struggle with. I like nice things, but I'm working on it. That's the key. Medical expenses. That's one a lot of people don't really think about, but medical expenses add up. So try to only go to the doctor when you really need to, or try to get a really good insurance plan, something, I don't know, figure it out. But things like having a child or regular checkups that can be done at a regular physician, try to do that at a regular physician. Your copay might be cheaper than going to the emergency room. If you do need to go to the emergency room, try to Uber there or something, unless it's urgent, which hopefully not. But just know that those medical bills, once you leave the hospital, goes straight to your credit report. So just keep that in mind. Now I'm going to get into how to get out of debt. And the first thing is knowing where you stand, knowing your status. So just like with anything else, knowing where you stand, pulling your credit report from all 3 credit bureaus. You can do it at freecreditreport.com. You can go to Experian, you can make an account there, you can go to Credit Karma, pull your credit reports. And this isn't your outline summary of what's going on with your credit. This is a detailed summary of everything that is attached to your social security number that you need to know about. So I would go and pull all 3 of those from TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian, and then just rip them to shreds. Like, not literally, but just go through them, highlighting everything that may be false, any addresses that you no longer live at, any names that are on there that you no longer go by. There is a lot of little things that you can look at in your credit report, and I'll do a separate video about that. But just knowing where you stand is really important, because you can dispute a lot of those things and then turn your, credit around significantly. And if you have past due debt, for example, You can not necessarily dispute it, but you can kind of ask for a forgiveness, forbearance, whatever the case is. So just knowing who you owe and what you owe and when you owe it is really important. Once you've done that, contact your creditors to see if they can offer, like I said, some sort of forgiveness, forbearance. Reducing payments, that's a possibility as well. So if you were like me and you signed up for a credit card that had an insanely high APR and your 0% interest rate period has ended, you can contact some of these creditors and see if they're willing to give you some sort of payment reduction. Or you could even refinance a lot of these loans. For example, if you have a car payment that's really expensive, when you got it, you had maybe like a 5% rate, which isn't that bad, but let's say you had like a 12%. As most people with bad credit who don't really know about finance do, they go and buy a car, 12% interest. Now you're paying, $15,000 for a $10,000 car. So in order to avoid that, you can refinance. That's another option to get out of debt, to reduce your payments. Refinance your home if you have a mortgage and you're in a similar situation. Another thing is increase your income to decrease your expenses. And I know this isn't as easy as it sounds, but given that we're in the middle of whatever we're in the middle of, there are so many jobs that have opened up online that you can do on your free time. For example, when you get off of work at 5 p.m., go right into another job for 3-4 hours if you're able to, or do it after you put the kids to sleep, or whenever the case is. Just know that getting another job would help significantly in reducing some of those expenses to help you pay it off. And it's not, permanent. Just know that it's temporary to help you get out of debt. So just know that you sitting down doing nothing isn't going to work. Any of these other options will. Another way to reverse out of debt is to start a business. I know, again, a lot easier said than done, but quick side plug, if you would like to get a free consultation on how to start your own business, that is what I do. So my website is linked below. Schedule a free consultation with me and we can get that started. Anyway, enough of that. Starting a business of your own can really help you increase your income and bring in some additional side income, or your main income essentially. Anything, literally, you can turn anything into a business. If you love talking to people, I promise you there is a business out there for you. If you know something really weird that someone else doesn't, I'm sure they're willing to pay for it. I did a cheese tasting the other day. That was very interesting, and the moderator was a cheese Mongol. I don't know the word, but she was a cheese expert, and we paid her for her time. So I'm telling you, you can literally do anything your heart desires. So starting a business, a side hustle, great way to get out of debt, great way to significantly change your life and turn it around if you're looking for something different. If you're tired of your 9-to-5 job, or if you're tired of just feeling like, why can't I get more money? Why am I in so much debt? Because honestly, debt is like this huge red number just constantly racking up, and it's looming over your head. Anyway, sorry to get so dark, but that's the way a lot of people view it, and they allow their debt to bring them down in all areas of their life, their health, their wealth, their mental, their emotions, everything. Last but not least, the best way to get out of debt, in my opinion, is to cut your expenses. There's a number of ways that you can do this. First and foremost is getting extremely strict about your budget. So download apps like Mint. Credit Karma, I think, is a good one. Really, you can even use Excel if you need to. But there's so many ways that you can take control of your debt. And I think that's the first thing that you need to do, besides knowing where you stand on your credit reports. Start shopping at the farmer's market versus, going to Walmart or Publix, for example. Walmart is kind of cheap, but it's not really about that. It's more so like quantity and quality. And I think the farmers markets have that down packed, and they're all at really good prices because they're from the farms directly to the market. I think that's why they're called farmers markets. But they're able to offer better produce at cheaper prices. You're eating healthier, you feel better, and you're able to tackle all these other things on the list to getting out of debt. Build a monthly budget. So I have one that I use, and I use these apps that I've mentioned already. I use Credit Karma, I use Mint, but the one that works the best for me is an Excel file that I have implemented, and I can link that down below so that you guys can kind of see what I do. It's super basic. I may build on it throughout the months to come, but essentially it's assessing my current income, my projected income, how much I'll have a year from now if I continue down the course that I'm in. And it's fun because I get to plug in numbers. It does account for all my debt, and expenses, so you're able to plug in all of your expenses, all of your debt, and calculate and build a plan so that you know that by this month next year I will have paid off all my debt, and it'll be the greatest feeling in the world, because it truly is, once you're done with those big companies that, anyway. Last but not least, I think I said that for the last one, but anyway, this is really the last tip, and that is to either get a roommate, sell all your stuff, sell your car, or move back home. I don't know. But that goes into reducing your expenses, and that's really going to help in the long run. So I hope this video was helpful to someone, and I hope you stick around because there'll be more to come on how you can build your financial knowledge. Thanks, everyone.